in the soul, and it's reflecting in the body. Or another thing that could happen is that the soul, right, could be going through something mentally, and the body is getting sick, but you go to the doctor, right, and he does all the tests, and what does he come up with? Nothing is wrong with you. You have to go and do something else to fix it. So for instance, there was someone who was running, the blood pressure was fluctuating, and the doctors are finding nothing wrong with the person. So eventually, the doctor said to her, go into your meditation room and do meditation. And your meditation would help to bring your blood pressure down. So we decided this year to look at the postures of the soul, to look at what happens within the soul that would complement the asanas that we do with the body. How many of you do the Hatha Yoga? How many of you have done Hatha Yoga in your life? Right? So you know what the asanas are, right? But you don't do it now, do you, Shirley?
Oh, do it on and off.
On and off? Well, I'm going to ask you to show them these poses.
I don't, body's not that flexible enough.
The body's not that flexible. But yesterday it was amazing. I mean, as Madhvi said, I was just behind the Prime Minister of India. I was not really behind, because I was like a couple of yards. He must have been sitting where Madhvi is, and I was sitting where I am sitting. And there were some security guards behind us, but he was sitting, and I was watching him do these asanas. And I'm saying, you know, he still can move the body, even though the body is getting older, you could see it. But you could see he likes doing it, and he concentrates on doing it, and he knows how to do it. But do we know to do what this for the soul? So when we say that the body is going into the mountain pose, for instance, what's the corresponding posture of the soul? What is the posture of the soul that would help the body to stay in the mountain pose?
Stillness.
Exactly. So that's what we're looking at. What is the posture of the soul that would complement the asanas that we're doing? Now, it all starts with stillness, right? Because the whole thing of Raj Yoga is to return to that inner stillness. And then Raj Yoga is, if you could stay within, concentrated in your inner stillness or silence, then the body would be balanced, and you could hold those poses, you could hold the asanas, because it really, for your muscles to move, you cannot force it. You cannot force your physical muscles to move. You will damage them. But for your muscles to move, you actually have to move the muscles of the soul, the thoughts of the soul. And it's the thoughts of the soul that would hold the positioning of the muscles in the body, because the muscles are they operate with a subtler vibration than if you're physically doing something. So even if you're stretching, you're doing this with your ligaments and your arms, but for the muscles, there's a subtler awareness you need to have, so you're not forcing them to do something they're not ready to do, but you're coaxing them. You're doing it with a gentleness. So today I'd like to take you through 12 of those postures. We did 21 from June 1st to June 21, yesterday, and each day we would send them out. I don't know if you received them, but I was sending them out to whoever was on my list. And they were really enjoying it, because people I've never heard from in years since before COVID, when they received these ones, they were saying, oh, thank you very much. I really enjoy it, because they were doing both. They were experimenting with the asanas, the postures of the body, but they were also experimenting with the posture of the soul. So today I want us to focus on the postures of the soul. Why? Because it will help you in your meditation. Because you all come here to learn how to meditate, right? Not to learn to do hatha yoga. How many of you know how to meditate? How many of you know how to consider yourself to be a soul? How to remember Baba? How to concentrate? Because that's what it's all about, concentration. How many of you would say, I know how to do it? You know how to do it, right? Anyone else? And can you do it at will? Yeah. Can you consider yourself to be, you could be busy doing something and you could just move your intellect away from doing that and just concentrate on yourself as a soul and connect to God. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, right? That's why people chant mantras. They use the mantra to help discipline the mind. But it doesn't do it for very long, right? If I'm not in the awareness of who I am and I'm a soul. So let's look at those postures of the soul. So could you play the first one, please? So we're going to look at it and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. So you're going to use two things today, visuals, and then you're going to practice the soul posture. So could we see the first one?
This pause, this pause, this pause. Simply in the moment.
So that's the first. Sorry for that. So that's the first posture of the body, right? And what the sister was doing, she was telling you exactly what she was going through with the soul. So one of the practices of soul consciousness is to elevate your consciousness. So how do I elevate my consciousness? How do I put my awareness in a posture that would elevate me? And it is a very simple practice, just as how the mountain pose is actually an alignment. And so the soul's posture is, it's going to align what it has inside of it to something that is called the peak. You see the peak of the mountain, that's what you're standing in alignment with. So the soul will align with that peak of the mountain, but the soul's feet have got to be on the ground. So the thoughts in the soul have got to be grounded in something that is strong within it first. before it could align itself with the peak of a mountain. And so it would then, when we say, consider yourself to be a soul, the soul is seeing itself as a point. So within the body, the soul is in its peak consciousness. And then the soul is grounding itself in its qualities. So the qualities of light, the qualities of love, the quality of purity, the quality of truth, the quality of peace, the quality of joy. These are all intrinsic within me. They are in the soul. So I am standing on that foundation, but then I'm elevating my awareness. And the way I'm elevating my awareness, I am reaching up to a source. And then as I touch that source, which is called God, I'm doing so in a relationship that I, the soul, I'm a child of God. And what I'm doing in this, in elevating my awareness with this relationship, I, the soul, I'm a child of God, I'm drawing power from God, and it is helping to generate these foundational values in me, these foundational virtues in me. So this is called the mountain pose. And remember, I cannot draw power from God, just as though I can't reach the peak of a mountain unless I'm standing on ground. I'm like stable on the ground. My feet have got to be on the ground before I do the pose, you know. And so it's the same way. I cannot draw power from God if I don't recognize within me are the powers that I want from God. And so that's the posture of the soul. Posture of the soul, I have to stand in my own powers first, even though I don't recognize them, even though I don't feel them, but I have to have faith that they exist in me. And as I stand firmly in that faith, that love and truth and peace and all of that is within me, then I reach up and elevate my awareness to the peak, to touch Baba, to touch God. And then I draw power, and that activates these virtues within me. And that's a posture of the soul. And that's what I practice. That's my very first practice. So did you get it? You don't do it, but did you understand it? Right. So you're walking down the street, or you're in the subway, or you're in your car, and something suddenly happens, and you become afraid. What's your mountain pose? What's the posture of the soul in that moment?
That I'm whole and complete and loveful being. And at the same time, I realize myself that who I am, what I'm up to. And fear is outside, not within me.
Exactly.
And at the same time, I can first of all accept myself the way I am, the way I am not, however the situation is. And then I can connect to the Almighty.
Exactly. So the fear is outside of me.
Oh, yes.
That's the key thing here. The mountain pose is, I have the power within me. The fear is outside of me. And I will then use that faith in myself, that I have the power within me to connect to God, who will then protect me from that fear. And that's called a mountain pose. And that's a posture of the soul. So you're getting it? At least you're getting it. So I'll talk to you. Okay, could we have the second posture? Second. So the second posture is the posture, the chair pose, right? So the spiritual or the soul posture is the soul has a seat in the body. And so when I say I'm a soul, I'm focusing on the seat of the soul. And why do I have to focus on the seat of the soul? The soul isn't all over the body. The soul is generating life into the body. So whether you say the soul connects to the body through the Kundalini points, the soul isn't in the Kundalini points. The soul is here. This is the seat of the soul. And the soul connects to the body strategically through your Kundalini points. But when you say, I'm a soul, it's like you're drawing all the soul's life and you're concentrating it here. And so that's the chair pose. The posture for the soul in the chair pose is to seat yourself in the awareness that this is the seat of the soul. The moment you do that, this is why it's called the seat of dignity. I reestablish myself in my dignity of who I am. Because then, seated here, I'm seeing my relationship with my body in a dignified way. And so not only do I have respect for myself in the chair pose, when I'm aware that I'm seated here in the center of the forehead, the seat of the soul, not only do I reestablish the respect in myself, I respect myself. You know, we expect everybody else to respect us, right? But do I respect myself? And that's the key question. If I don't respect myself, no one will respect me. Because I'm not worthy of the respect of another if I don't respect myself. And the reason I'm going to respect myself is because I'm aware of who I am. I'm a child of God. And secondly, this chair pose establishes within me respect for my body. How do I care for this body? What do I feed this body? How do I clean this body? How do I take this body for a walk? So the respect for the body based on the relationship. So that's the chair pose. So did you get that one? I'm going to go a little bit quicker because then I want to take you through. It's fine. Okay, then the third one. And I'm telling you this because you're going to go home and practice it, right? Otherwise, why do you come here to learn Raj Yoga if you can't practice, if you don't know what are the postures of your soul and how to practice it? So you're going to practice it when you leave here. So pay attention to it a little bit, because Raj Yoga is not just about listening to something and forgetting it when you leave here. It's taking it with you as a practice. Okay, so I'm muting.
We cannot hear anything.
The third posture is the forward standing bend. Now, the forward standing bend is a asana that they're all very skilled, but it is a skill in which when you are moving the body, you're standing, but at the same time, you're moving forward, right? It's a forward bend. So one of the things about the soul's posture in this standing forward bend is that we are taught open-eyed meditation. And so the posture of the soul will be, keep your eyes open, right? In the stillness of your soul, be an observant to everything that is going on around you. But before you do that forward bend, before you reach out to engage or to participate in whatever it is you want in terms of what's going on around you, the soul, before it makes that bend into action, the soul must do so from the stillness within.
Can you repeat, please?
Okay, so the forward bend, right? So it is, first of all, the posture is your physical eyes are open. The posture of the soul is that I'm not closing my eyes, I'm not shutting the world out. I'm looking at what's going on in the world. But I am standing in the stillness of my soul. The bending, the forward bend now, I'm going into action. Before I take that action, I must be still. I must be connected to the stillness, to the silence within. And let the silence within move me into action, not the noise on the outside. Otherwise, the forward bend is I'm responding to something. It's a bend, it's a humble, it's a thing of humility. But I'm doing so from the wisdom within me. The posture is I'm connecting to the stillness of the wisdom within me. And when I bend forward to come into action, I'm responding. Otherwise, I'm reacting. I'm hitting the noise outside of me with the noise inside of me. I haven't gone into my stillness. So that's the posture for the forward bend. Then there's the plank pose, that plank pose, which is I mean, they're all skilled and all difficult to a certain extent. But the plank pose is also a pose that shows, that tells the soul that the soul has to get into the posture to access its spiritual power. Spiritual power isn't in the body. Spiritual power isn't in relationships. Spiritual power isn't in matter. Spiritual power is in the soul. So it is that the posture that the soul gets into with the plank pose is that it accesses its spiritual power. And when the soul accesses that spiritual power, the pose that it adopts is a pose of benevolence. The soul will only want to give benefit, and that's the posture it will take up. It will take up a posture that my spiritual power is asking me to be the benefactor, to bring benevolence to whatever it is that I am offering to the world. So the plank pose is being the benefactor. The soul is the benefactor, and within a benefactor's intention, within a benefactor's attitude, is benevolence, is to bring benefit. So that's the posture of the plank pose, to bring benefit, to be the benefactor. Then you have the upward facing dog, right? The upward facing dog is you're turning inward. The posture is threefold. You're turning inward, you're going upward, and then you're turning outward. That's your posture. You're going inward. So you're saying, I'm a soul, right? I'm detached. You're looking upward. You're connecting to God. And then you're turning your face outward. Right? The outward facing dog. So let's just do our traffic control. Now, one of the things about the upward facing dog is loyalty to its master. And that's the posture you have. Loyalty to your master. And who's your master? The one up above. The other one is the downward facing dog. So remember, upward facing dog is you are looking up, and loyalty to your master. So the downward facing dog is, dogs are usually aware of everything that's going on. They're always sniffling, right? They have that sense of smell. They smell their masters, they smell things, they smell danger, they smell joy, everything. They have a highly sensitive nature of smell. So the soul, its posture is that it's alert. And so even though when it is downward facing, you may think that it cannot see. The upward facing dog, of course, will see everything. The downward facing posture is even when I'm not seeing anything, the soul is still aware of what's happening. It's highly sensitized as to what's going on in its environment. So a downward facing dog means I might not be aware that someone entered this room. In other words, I haven't seen it with these eyes. I'm downward facing. But I'm highly sensitive to the vibrations that just entered. And I sense it. So a downward facing dog has such attention in its posture that it senses danger even before the danger comes your way. It senses harm even before it comes your way. So it's an inner alertness. That's the downward facing. Good.
Actually, if we do on the big screen, it's getting stuck.
Yeah, that's all right.
Otherwise,
But they won't get to see it, and I want them to see it.
well, I can put them up.
No, it's too much
okay.
right now, yeah. So the other one is warrior. So the posture of the soul is that it's a nonviolent warrior. You know, it's in a battle. It's in a battle with its illusions. So this warrior posture is to remind the soul that its battle is a nonviolent one, because its enemy is its illusion. So the posture that the soul will take is a posture of victory. That victory is my birthright. So if a thought comes to deceive me or to defeat me, I am this. You see, this thing about being defeated, I'm not defeated by anyone else. I'm defeated by myself. So they say the victims, that you're your own victim because you are defeated by your own thoughts. You have your own demons of death living inside of you. You don't need a demon of death to come and take you, because your demon of death is taking you every day. So this warrior posture is totally non-violent with myself. The posture is, I'm changing as a soul. I'm on a journey of self-transformation, but I am going to be non-violent with me. If I'm non-violent with myself, then I could be non-violent with everyone else. How many of us in very simple ways are violent ourselves? So by just do that, by just saying I'm no good, by just saying I'm losing my ability, by just saying I'm getting old, by just saying I can't hear anymore. It's like subtle violence against the body. And so I have to look at that. I'm a nonviolent warrior, and that's the pose. Then there's also a pose in the asanas that's called the triangular pose. And it's a very beautiful, elegant pose. The triangular posture of the soul is that the soul is, it's like a triangle, right? The soul is there. The posture is, I'm the soul. And then the other two would be the two pillars that the soul stands on. Many times we say that the mind is the most powerful thing in the soul, but it's not the mind. The mind is the last thing that we need to change. Well, what we have to change is our sanskaras and the way the intellect works. That's what we have to change. The way we understand things, the way we perceive things, the way we remember things, the way we discern, the way we decide, the way the intellect, those are all qualities of the intellect. And so I have to strengthen, I have to change my sanskaras, my personality traits, my patterns, and I have to strengthen my intellect. Because every day I'm making a decision. I have to make a decision whether I stay here and listen to boring Gayatri or I get up and leave. Right? That's a decision. What is determining that decision? So it's this triangle. Is that I'm the soul, my sanskaras are here, my likes and dislikes, and my intellect is here to make a decision based on my likes and dislikes. But it is also 3 points in which I recognize who I am, the 2 bottom points in the triangle. I recognize who I am. I recognize this drama of life, and I also recognize God. So if I'm connected to God in this posture, I'm also connected to my part, and I'm connected to the drama of life. And so this triangle, the posture of the soul is, it is these 3 points. If I am connected to them accurately, they would move me in the direction and get me to my destination. So I just have to remember the 3 points in the triangular pose. And then, of course, this was a very nice one. It's called the revolving side angle. It's all the body. You have to turn the body. And so, again, a very skillful pose. But it is called the position of the soul, is that there's constant, the posture here is that there's a recognition, there's a constant movement going on in the soul. It's like a revolving door. Have you ever been to a hospital and you go in one door and you come out the same door? So it's a revolving door, right? They also have them in very many buildings. But if someone is sick and the person is constantly going in and out of the hospital, they usually say that patient is in a revolving door. They're going into the hospital and they're being discharged. They go back to the hospital, they're being discharged. And so this revolving door in the posture of the soul is to know that there are 2 sides to my personality. There is my original side and there is my acquired side. And I'm constantly going through this revolving door of looking at my good side and looking at my bad side. But the posture is saying this revolving side angle is don't stay on one side, revolve it. Don't stay on the side that is good, and stay with the side that is good. And even if you move, which you will, the posture of the soul must always be, I will revolve back to my good side and I will see my good face. All right, make sense? And then the other one is the half moon pose. All right, you're all going to be 16 celestial degrees. That's our maximum. 16 celestial degree is 1 degree higher than the moon. So the half moon pose is saying to us that when God comes, it's like looking at a half empty or a half full glass, right? So you're looking at the moon, right? And you're seeing the moon is waning. The moon is getting less. That's what the moon does, right? It waxes and it wanes. So when you're looking at the moon in its halfway mark, how do you see the moon? As a half moon or as a full moon waning? How do you see it? With what eyes do you look at it? So the half moon means that when God comes, the posture that the soul will have is that when God sees me, I may just have a little, very little line left in me, but God always sees me as the full moon. And that is why God puts in the effort to fill me with his light. So the half moon pose means that it's how is it I'm seeing myself? I may be half full of God's light, but am I seeing myself as a half full moon, or am I seeing myself with potential to become a full moon? So this half moon pose, the posture of the soul, is the potential with which I see myself. And it's like having that half full glass. Do I see it as half full or do I see it as half empty? Do I see life as half full or do I see it as half empty? How do I see my life? And then pose 11 is a beautiful pose. It's called the tree pose. All of you know this, right? It's one of the most elegant again, but most people could do it. And the tree pose is very much one in which the soul's posture is, it's now connected to the seed of the tree. And so the tree pose, even though the tree, you know, if you look at any tree, it's an expanded thing with branches and leaves and all of that, roots. But the tree pose is that you're bringing in all your limbs, right? And you're standing like a tree. But you're connected. The posture of the soul is now I'm connected to the seed. And from that posture of being with the seed, I can see the whole tree. So when we come to settling karmic accounts with other souls, the tree pose is what the posture needs to be. Because I can't go to every leaf on the tree that I have committed something with, a karmic account with, to settle it. But if I'm in the posture of my tree pose, I'm connecting to the seed. And the seed, God, is helping me to settle with the whole tree. If there's one thing wrong with one organ of the body, the posture is the tree. I'm connecting now to the seed, to the soul. And when I connect to the soul, the life force in the soul is going to heal the entire body, not just the one organ that has gone bad. Because all the organs would be affected by that one organ going bad. And so I have to heal the whole body. So the tree pose would be required for that. And finally, it's the hero's part, the hero pose, the asana of the hero. And I've never done it much, so you need to see it. And all of these, you know, you could send it to them to look at it. And so I wanted to end with the hero pose, because the hero is very important as a posture for the soul. If the soul isn't in the posture of the hero, the soul does not know how to help itself. So the hero posture of the soul is, I have now taken responsibility to help myself grow out of my ignorance. I, the soul, have now taken responsibility to believe in myself once again, to believe in my strengths, to believe that I'm worthy, to believe that I can make a difference. The hero pose is that I, the soul, am now going to grow out of forgetting who I am and living into recognizing who I am. In other words, you're reclaiming all your spiritual rights. And that's the hero pose. So these were 12, and there are more. We did 21 of them, but they're also beautiful because every day you can take one of those asanas, look at her doing it in a physical way, but think about today, I want to be in this soul posture all day. Choose one, because the physical asana is telling you what, if you do with the body will be in that energy field all day of the asanas. If you take up that posture of the soul as well, the soul will be in the live, in that living, conscient awareness of itself all day too. And for the soul to be victorious in the way it's going to live its life, I have to adapt myself to a pose, to a posture. I just can't let my inner awareness be held to skelter, right? Be everywhere and anywhere, but I have to be concentrated. This is what I want. This is what I want to achieve in life. And this is the posture that will help me achieve it. If I don't have the posture, I cannot achieve it. It's as simple as that. If I don't have the inner posture of the soul would not achieve anything. The soul will feel itself lesser than. The soul will feel itself as though it's at the mercy of the world. The soul will feel itself as a victim of its own karmas. The soul will feel sorry for itself, right? But if it adapts itself to the right soul posture, there's only victory for the soul. So it's as simple as that. And these are very simple postures. They're not complicated, right? So I'll stop there. And hopefully you will experiment. Any questions? No, it won't make any sense.
Like once they get all together without.
Oh, well, you could do it. Yeah, you could do it as meditation.
Can, can we get the recording and the postures by email?
Who is this, Paula?
Nora.
Nora, you know what? I'm going to be doing, I'm going to repeat this again. You can, yes, as an
Okay.
answer. I don't know if you can, but I hope you can. Madhvi will tell you. But I'm going to be repeating it for Harmony House on Thursday next week.
Oh,
They would have it. Hopefully, it will be shown and it would be recorded as well.
okay.
Because it is very helpful, these postures of the soul.
Yes, I never associated this way, the way you explain it. And to me, I would say that, you know, when they teach yoga, they should say this. So when you do the poses, you are more aware and more, you know, like really knowing what you are doing and how and why you're doing it.
Mhm.
I thought it was very interesting and I found it very, very helpful.
Right. And also when you're out, after you finish doing your asanas, you remain in the posture, the soul posture of the asana for the rest of the day,
Ah,
if they teach you it that way. So
yeah,
the way is the soul posture, and that helps you throughout the day in terms of how to live your life.
exactly. It really makes sense. It really makes sense.
Yeah.
I am very, very grateful that I was able to join and listen to you.
Thank you. No.
Today? Oh, very good.
Recorded,
Yeah.
and also they all the asanas.
Oh, that will be wonderful.
Yes.
This time.
And then we're also going to be doing a book on it, an ebook.
Oh,
And then we're going to elaborate a little bit more on the soul postures in relation to the asanas. Yeah.
good, thanks.
Okay, so let us now close. And what Madhvi Ben is suggesting, we look at the 12 postures as a meditation commentary. And so you're going to be looking at them with a different awareness, right?
Hmm.
As you see them now, but do it in a meditative way rather than me doing a commentary. She's going to show this to you and hopefully it works.
Great. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Tadasana, mountain pose. This posture reminds me, the soul, to elevate my awareness to the peak. Simply to remember, I am a soul seated in the most elevated place in this body, behind the forehead. I am an exquisite being of light, love, truth, bliss, purity, harmony. And I, like every soul, am eternally a child of the most majestic one, the divine, the supreme soul, elevating the awareness of self to the peak. Utkatasana, chair pose. I, the soul, am seated in the most elevated awareness, beyond all that is limited and temporary, beyond all labels and layers. The throne of the forehead, the chair of dignity, where I experience how precious I am just as a living being and as a child of the divine. Uttanasana, standing forward bend. With my feet firmly rooted in this physical world and my physical eyes open, I, the soul, begin to look inward, to fold inwards on the self, embarking on a journey of self-understanding, a journey that can only really be guided by God's wisdom. And my objective at the end of this journey is to move through this physical world as a spiritual being, a yogi, elevated, enlightened, and loving. Kumbhakasana, plank pose. I, the soul, know I will need a very unique power to maintain my spiritual integrity as I move through the world. I reach up to touch elevated awareness and then fold within the self to experience that unique power, that God-given gift to every soul, a pure, benevolent, spiritual power to always respond with love. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. I, the soul, seeking to restore the authentic self, find my heart reaching up to be with the divine. I turn my face inwards and upwards. I, the soul, awakening that memory within of a silence place where I can experience sweet, silent communion with the One. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. I, the soul, cherish quiet moments in communion with the divine, the one we call God. I want to bring that one into my day-to-day life. I create a golden thread connecting my heart to the heart of that one, my mind to the mind of that one. So as I walk and move around down here in this physical realm, I am still remembering that one, keeping me in such an elevated place as I move through the world. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. As I move through the world, I, the soul, am aware of how complicated and distracting it can become, both around me and within the self. But I will not be pulled from my course, that journey towards complete spiritual well-being. I, the non-violent warrior, keep my eye on the target, my destination, by staying close to myself and close to the divine. Utthita Trikonasana, extended triangle pose. As the non-violent warrior, I, the soul, the yogi, keep close to me a gift of godly wisdom, 3 powerful points of understanding. The first, I am eternally a peaceful soul. It is my true nature. The second, I belong unconditionally to the Supreme Soul, the Divine, always valued, always loved. And the third, whatever scenes are unfolding in the drama of my life are waves to move me further along on my journey towards self-realization. Parivritta Parshvakonasana, revolving side angle pose. On this spiritual journey to restore my true highest potential, I will be asked to dig deep, to let go of some old things, old ideas, old beliefs, old attitudes, in order to embrace some new things, different ideas, awareness. And so I come inside and have this feeling of moving through a revolving door, a different spin on the self that only the Supreme Soul can reveal to me. On one side is the old awareness of the self, temporal and physical. And on the other side of that door is a very ancient, deep, sacred experience of the self, eternal and spiritual. It is on this side that restoration can happen. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. I begin to look at myself in the way that God sees me, through a compassionate eye, an eye filled with understanding. I, the soul, like every soul, I have been on a journey through time in which I experience the fullness of the self, the fullness of all experiences. In the first half, I am fully illuminated, completely my true self, brilliant. In the second half, I come into a period of forgetting, opening up the possibility of different experiences. But I always return to the brilliance of my true self. Vriksasana, tree pose. I observe so often in the course of the day, the thoughts in my mind expand and expand, so many thoughts about roles, responsibilities, tasks, and timelines. And I hunger for a simple experience of peace. I am pulled to go to the sea, to come inwards as if underground, and remember, I am calm at the core. I, the soul, am a being of peace, truly a child of God, the ever peaceful one. By touching the seed, the tree of thoughts in my mind is completely transformed. Virasana, hero pose. Every human soul has their own story, their own journey through time, largely forgotten by the self. But there is one being who stays beyond, who understands my entire journey, knows me far better than I know myself. That one can see through all the layers and all the labels, all the scenes and situations, all the ups and downs, can see right through to the diamond, the soul, the hero within. The Supreme Soul can see me. And that vision uplifts me, empowers me to move through life with grace and dignity.